Welcome back to what might possibly be my last poker vlog. Okay, maybe not my last ever poker vlog, but I will definitely be making them slower now. An incident occurred at one of my local casinos, and I guess everything is still good poker-wise. They're still letting me play poker, but I can't play something else anymore, and that really sucks. You know what? Actually, I'm not even really gonna get into it, what happened for real, but for obvious reasons, the channel's gonna be a lot different now because of this. I always knew this day would come, but I thought hopefully it wasn't for a few years down the road. I will only be vlogging while traveling to, like Vegas, something like that. There will be no more local vlogs coming out. So I'm making them a lot slower. I only go on vacation maybe 1, 2, 3 times a year. So it's going to be way slower now. Kind of sucks. The upload schedule's going to be way off. And an update on the win streak, though. It has ended now. We went on a 10-session win streak. Pretty sick. We were winning in the pits at the same time, too. So I had a few good months to end the year. I added this to the intro late to update you guys on what's going on with the channel. So in real time, the vlog's getting ready to start right now, which was already shot. So you might hear me talk about the win streak in past tense. Let's get into it. Crazy win streak going on right now. I know it's got to come to an end soon, but hopefully not today. We sit down at a brand new table that just formed, but it doesn't take long for me to notice that there's a very loose action player sitting on my right. Just what we like to see. In the first hand and note, we pick up ace-jack offsuit. The aggressive player on my right makes it 15 over a few limps. I briefly think about 3-betting because he opens pretty wide, but I just call. And good thing I did because the button now bumps it up to 65. It folds back around to the action player, and he calls. That's a pretty reasonable price. I would normally fold given 1-3 players 3-bet range is pretty tight, but the fact that the action player that I mentioned earlier on my right calls, it entices me to call too. We're going to be playing a little bit of a wider range against the action player whenever he's in the pot. The flop comes 9-7-2, all diamonds, just terrible, and it checks through. The turn is another 9 pair on the board. The action guy and me we both check. The button briefly hesitates before putting out a bet of 110. We both get out of the way quickly. Even if he was bluffing, it probably was with the best hand. Since he 3-bet, I'm guessing he had, like 10s or jacks or just some overpair with a diamond in his hand. And maybe we could have called him down or played back at him if we had the ace of diamonds, but it wasn't the case. Next hand of note, queen 10 of hearts in the big blind. Middle position opens at 15. The aggressive player on my right calls, and I 3-bet the 45. They both call. The flop comes queen high with 2 hearts. Beautiful, just what we wanted to see. They check it over to me, and I c-bet for 50. Only middle position calls the initial raiser. Unfortunately, the aggro player folds. Heads up, and the turn is a queen, giving us trips. I decide to check because I think we only get called by better here, and everything else folds. I know we still got the flush draw, but I choose the less aggressive route. Now he just jams over pot for 298. I'm thinking for a bit, and we just have to pay this off here. I don't think a nutted hand like queen jack or pocket jacks would jam there. They would definitely bet small like 100 or less for a call. The river changes nothing. He's hesitant to show after I call. I show. I have a queen. We're good. We take it down, and he exposes pocket aces. That's sneaky guy, man. He's over there slow playing his aces on me. I really don't get why 1-3 players do this. They slow play big pairs like aces or kings, queens all the time. Like, if he would have just 4-bet me pre-flop, I would have folded. This would have never happened, and he wouldn't have gotten stacked. He would have won a small pot. In his defense, though, maybe he didn't 4-bet because he wanted to keep that action player behind in the hand to potentially win a bigger pot. but who knows what he was thinking. We look down at ace queen offsuit on the button. Early position opens, gets 2 callers, and then the aggro player on my right 3 bets to 45. I call, the small blind calls, the initial opener calls, and the lippers call too. 6 ways to the flop in a 3-bet pot at 1-3. That never happens. I mean, I'm sure some got good hands, but it's just crazy how one aggressive player at the table can loosen up the entire table, and then stuff like this happens. Anyways, the flop comes 2-3-5 with 2 diamonds. Small blind just donk bets 100 in the 5 people. Like, who does that? Next act folds. Looks pretty upset too, like he just made a big fold. He laid down something good. Of course he folded because of that strange donk bet. Then we get a jam for like 150, and then another jam for less, only like 100. Now the aggro player, the action player, and the initial 3-better, he jams all in for 500. I obviously fold, but what's going on here? I keep it rolling just to show what happened. 4 people all in with a few side pots. I'm going to recap the ending real quick. The small blind ended up having pocket 10s. Early position who folded made the hero fold. He had pocket 8s. And then the first middle position jammer had ace-8 diamonds for the flush draw that missed. And the next middle position, he had ace-4 for the flop straight. He monkey scoots the main pot. Yes, this guy's calling 3 bets with ace-4 offsuit. We're at a good table, but I'm sure he called because of that action player. And then lastly, the aggro player, he actually had a good hand. I was a little shocked by that. He had pocket jacks, the Jimmypocketts. So the aggro player with the jacks wins all the side pots, and ace-4 offsuit wins with the straight for the main pot. Just a wild hand right there. Unfortunately, shortly after that, the aggro player gets called for 2-2 PLO. Makes sense. Now, why this guy's playstyle was like that, so gambly aggressive. He's a PLO player, of course. Then when he gets up, 2 other players leave too, and we're replaced by less EV players for me. So I think it's a good time for me to leave too. I book a small win. We lock up $250 that session. Nice little profit. I come back a couple weeks later and get dealt pocket 10s. I open a 12 over 1 limp from the cutoff, and we get 3 callers. We smack a set on the flop. It checks to me. I see bet for 15, hoping for some action, but everyone folds. Doesn't take long after this for me to realize this is a slow table. I mean, in real time, I knew it was a slow table as soon as I got called for it because no one at the table was under 55. You know, I need to stop coming to so early in the day because this type of tables they working with. But so I switch, I go eat. I come back a little bit later. Whoops, my fault. We got one more hand before we switch tables. King Jack of offsuit in the cutoff, and I call open for 10. 1 player behind me and 3 in front to a flop of ace 10 8 all spades, and we got either a king of spades or a jack of spades. I forgot. One of them is a spade. The button checks. Early position donks for 18. The initial raiser calls, and I call. Now the button bumps it up to 100. Only the initial raiser calls, and it's on me. I mean, we got a gutter and a jack high flush. Looks like it's the jack of spades. I need to start pre-reading these before I just start recording. Anyways, the ace of spades is already on the board. I know a big bet's coming on the turn too. We got a lot of outs, but I let it go because I'm pretty sure the button's got a made hand, and we're behind. End results, the button had a low flop flush, but the initial raiser took it down with a turn boat after he called with trips and turned the boat. We made the correct laydown. Now we end up leaving to get some food and come back 20 minutes later after our little comp meal. And, sometimes I find leaving and coming back is better than getting put on the table change list. because you get put on that list and it seems like they forget about you. But you go get food, come back, and immediately just sit down at a new table is better. And the new table has more action, so it worked out for us. Much younger crowd. We pick up pocket queens, the ladies. I open at 10 under the gun. We get 5 callers, the small blind, and the rest behind me. And the flop comes 9-6-4 with 2 hearts. Small blind checks. We still got the overpair, but I check. It's usually not good to bet out a position in the 5 people. I'm never doing that, and I don't care how good my hand is. This allows us to see where we're at and gives us the opportunity to check raise if we want. It checks to the button, and he stabs for 25. The small blind calls the 25, and this is the perfect opportunity to check raise. The button probably just stabbed at it, trying to steal it really, since it was checked to him. I sized up a little bit to 125, given the fact that there's a caller in between and we're out of position. Everyone folds. We take it down. The person exactly on my left looked a little upset letting his cards go and then proceeded to tell me that was a good bet. Probably just hit a piece on the flop and really wanted to play it. He wanted to hold on to that. But we take it down. Nothing else interesting happened. We book an extremely small win of 63 after about 3 hours of play. That's just how it is some days, a lot of ABC pots, you're taking it down early, not really winning much. Probably was up about 200 at the high point and never really had a low point. It was around even. The win streak was kept alive though, barely. Let's see how long we can make it.